Since the earthquake and tsunami severely damaged the Fukushima Daiichi plant in Japan, the U.S. lawmakers, scientists, and citizens have been extremely against nuclear energy. We should not be so quick to push this important and eco-friendly energy to the side. Today, I want to tell you the basics about nuclear energy, some advantages to nuclear energy, and what exactly happened in Japan, and why this would not happen in the United States. I want to start off by talking to you a little bit about the basics of nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is created in a process called fission, which is where a neutron hits a uranium atom, which splits and creates a chain reaction. This chain reaction is harnessed in a nuclear reactor and heats up water. This water turns into steam, which then turns turbines and attached to an electric generator. Lake water then cools this steam and turns it back into its liquid form and is then put through this process again. The fuel used in a reactor like this are 1-inch uranium-235 pellets, and these pellets are put end to end into a 12-foot long rod. And about 200 of these rods are used in a reactor. And according to Duke Energy, one of these pellets produces the same amount of energy as a ton of coal. According to the Nuclear Energy Institute, more than 20% of the United States electricity is created by a nuclear reactor, and worldwide 14% of the energy is produced this way. Vermont is the #1 state in the country which produces and uses 70% of its electricity in a nuclear reactor. South Carolina uses and produces about 52% of its electricity this way, which makes it the #4 state in the country to do so. Now that you understand the basics of nuclear energy, I want to tell you some of the advantages of it. According to the Nuclear Energy Institute, nuclear energy is currently the cheapest source of energy available. Nuclear energy costs only about 2.03 cents per kilowatt hour, while coal costs 2.93 cents, gas costs 5 cents, and petroleum costs 12.37 cents per kilowatt hour. Another huge advantage of this source of energy is that it does not give off harmful emissions into the atmosphere. In fact, the Nuclear Energy Institute says that worldwide nuclear energy avoids on average the emissions of about 2.5 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. And Duke Energy says the emissions prevented by generating electricity at U.S. nuclear power plants are equal to the emissions of approximately 130 million cars. And over the past 30 years, nuclear power plants have reduced the use of oil for electricity by more than 23 billion barrels. Now that I've told you the advantages to nuclear energy, I want to explain to you what went wrong in Japan and tell you why this wouldn't happen here in the United States. When the nuclear reactors are built in earthquake-prone zones, they are typically built to withstand an earthquake that measures just above what normally occurs. Unfortunately, in northern Japan, the earthquake that occurred was a 9.0 on the Richter scale. This was the 5th most intense earthquake in modern history, and none of the reactors were built to withstand movement like that. And since the earthquake happened in the middle of the ocean, the disturbance caused a giant tsunami that hurled water about 10 miles inland of Japan. This further damaged the reactors and their power source. The source of the problem in Japan is that the backup generators failed after the power went out. This shuts down the cooling system needed to keep the uranium fuel from overheating and exploding, shooting radiation into the atmosphere. In the United States, there are 104 working power plants, with the majority of them on the East Coast. If you look at this map, you will see the power plants match up with the seismic activity. "94% of the country's power plants are not in earthquake-prone zones, and those reactors that are in these areas are built to withstand very powerful earthquakes. Also, most of the reactors are far enough inland that a tsunami would not be able to strike the power plant. In conclusion, nuclear energy is a worldwide energy source that we should not give up on. I have told you the basics of nuclear energy, the advantages to using it, and what went wrong in Japan, and why it would not happen in the United States. I hope this sparks your interest in nuclear energy and brings you to research it more thoroughly, and in turn, get you to talk to your representative about the possibility of nuclear energy being more prominent in our country.